Hey team, welcome to our new and improved surface decompression dive chart tutorial. So, as always, we want to start off before we even get the divers in the water by filling in this top section up here. Unlike the dives that we've done earlier on in the year, we are going to have all 4 divers on the same chart. We're going to do this because we will be using a platform that keeps all divers at the exact same depth, which means their travel times and stop times will be identical. So, kicking things off, let's say our divers leave surface at 1434. And to be realistic, let's say one of them had a hold on descent. One of our divers calls an all stop and says he's having trouble clearing. So once we stop that platform and get them stable, the first thing we want to do is have our rack operator take a depth measurement. And let's say they get a depth reading of 10 feet. Once we write that here, we also want to write that in the margins on the right-hand side. Just like always, we are still taking depth measurements and recording them over here. Once we get that reading, we are going to write down what the problem was and who it happened to over here. So let's say it was red diver, and they just had trouble clearing. And then after about 11 minutes, let's say it took them a really long time. So it took them 11 minutes to clear. Then they could clear successfully, and they continued traveling. We want to write down how long that hold lasted down here in the remarks. Let's say it lasted 11 minutes at 10 feet. Simple as that, easy peasy. So because of that delay, it took a lot of time to get down to their target depth. Let's say it took 15 and a half minutes. Normally, the way we've been writing this up until now is minutes and seconds. For the deep dives module, this is not how the instructors want you to write this. They want you to go ahead and round this up to the next minute. So instead of 15 minutes and 30 seconds, it'll be 16 minutes. Next, to find our reach bottom time, we add that 16 minutes to our left surface time, which will give us a reach bottom time of 1450. And of course, we always want to cross that out because we will not be adding anything to this later on. This is just a notional time we fill in just to make sure we have it recorded. All right, so we are at bottom. We take our depth measurement and we see that we are at exactly 130 feet. We are going to write down that 130-foot measurement on the right-hand margin, just like the rest of our depth measurements. And then let's say that we stay down there for about 7 minutes before we start coming up to our next working depth. We're going to put down in the remarks that we were at 130 feet for 7 minutes. So we go from 130 feet up to 100 feet. We have some stuff we want to do there, so we stop at 100 feet for a while. We have not left bottom yet. Remember, you don't technically leave bottom until you are coming all the way to surface. We are not ready to come to surface yet. So we've gone from 130 feet to 100 feet. Rack measures that depth measurement, and we write 100 feet over here on the right-hand margin again. And then at this point, even though we are not at the end of the dive yet, we know, because we planned this dive in advance, that we will not be descending any deeper. Therefore, we know that 130 feet is and will remain our deepest depth for the dive, which means we can now calculate our max depth. So we put our deepest depth, 130 feet, plus our pneumocorrection factor, and that will give us our max depth. Remember, +1 is only the pneumocorrection factor if you are at 100 feet or shallower. Between 101 feet to 200 feet, the pneumocorrection factor is +2. So we add those together. That gives us a max depth of 132 feet. And we know that we are planning on a table schedule of 140 feet and 30 minutes. So we can go ahead and pre-plan some of this stuff, but don't write it down yet. So since we know that we're going to be traveling from a stage depth of 100 feet, I'm going to go ahead and write that down. And our stage depth is going to be 100 feet, and we are traveling to our first stop at 40 feet. Now, this is where things get a little tricky, and you do have to refer to your chart over here. So we are on a 140-30 table, and the only stops recorded here are at 30 feet and at 20 feet. Because of the rules of surface decompression procedures, we only have to do stops at 40 feet and deeper. Since there are no 40-foot stops, technically we won't be stopping. However, here's the thing. We will be traveling at a different rate of speed from 100 feet to 40 feet, than we will from 40 to surface. So we're going to travel at 30 feet per minute from 100 to 40, and then we're going to travel at 40 feet per minute from 40 to surface. So here's how we're going to chart this. We're going to plan to go from 100 feet to 40 feet, which means we're going to subtract 100 minus 40. That gives us 60 feet. That will be our distance to first stop. So 60 feet at 30 feet per minute gives us a planned travel time of exactly 2 minutes. Now let's say that once we go ahead and leave bottom, we have been down there for, let's say, 12 minutes at 100 feet. I'm going to write that down here in the remarks. And we leave bottom after a total bottom time of 30 minutes. We now know that our table schedule is, in fact, 140/30. And we know that with a 30-minute bottom time, add that to our left surface time, 1434 plus 30 minutes gives us a left bottom time of 1504. Now, we are traveling to the 40-foot mark at 30 feet per minute. Let's say we get it right on the money. No delay whatsoever. We hit it at exactly 2 minutes. So we have no delay. Now, we're going to enter that in our reached first stop portion up here. So it took us 2 minutes to get there. And at this point, everything we enter in this column right here is going to be whatever time is above it plus whatever time is next to it. So for this box, above it is 1504. We add 2 minutes to that, which gives us a reached first stop clock time of 1506. So we reach first stop, that is the 40-foot stop. We stay there for a total of 0 minutes because we are not stopping, we are just increasing our speed. And let's say it took us exactly 1 minute to get from there to surface because we were, again, right on the money. 1 minute to go from 40 feet to surface. Now, again, each of these boxes is going to be the time above it plus the time next to it. So 1506 plus 0 minutes equals 1506. 1506 plus 1 minute equals 1507. Easy peasy. Now, this time right here, the time from 40 feet to surface, is your ascent time in water for surface decompression. So that 1 minute that it took us to reach surface, we are going to write over here as our ascent time. Once you reach surface, you immediately begin your undress time. The maximum we can have for the ascent time is 1 minute. The maximum we can have for the undress time is 3 minutes and 30 seconds. And the maximum time we can have for the descent in the chamber is 30 seconds for a total of 5 minutes. So for this dive, let's say that we were actually moving pretty quickly. We did pretty well. Let's say we undressed in 1 minute and 30 seconds. And then after that minute and 30 seconds, the chamber door is closed. We are descending, and let's say it took us exactly 30 seconds to get from surface to the 50-foot mark in the chamber. All right, so this right here, our total surface decompression surface interval time, is going to be all three of these numbers added together. So 1 minute plus 1 minute and 30 seconds plus 30 seconds equals a total surface decompression surface interval time of 3 minutes exactly. Now, we reach bottom in the chamber after we reached surface, which means we are not going to calculate this ascent time in our reach bottom chamber stop time. We are only going to add these two numbers together. So it took us 1 minute and 30 seconds to undress, 30 seconds to descend. That is a total of 2 minutes. So we're going to put 2 minutes in reach bottom chamber. 1507 plus 2 minutes equals a reach bottom chamber clock time of 1509. Now, once we hit the bottom of the chamber, we need to go on our O2 periods. To calculate how many O2 periods you need, we are going to use our chart over here. So for a 140/30 table, we need 1 O2 period. Remember, an O2 period is 30 minutes. A half period is 15 minutes. The rules of surface decompression say that the first 15 minutes is always at the 50-foot stop, and unless you have like more than 5 periods, then every other period is going to be at the 40-foot stop. So the thing is, once we hit the bottom of the chamber, we are not instantly breathing O2. it takes time to get from the outer lock to the inner lock, to close that, to form seal, to put our bibs on and get oxygen flowing. We call that dead time. So let's say it takes us 2 minutes to get all that done. We're going to say 2 minutes plus, and then leave some space to write in our chamber period over here. So we have now gotten our bibs on, we're breathing O2, and then after 15 minutes, it's time to descend from 50 feet to 40 feet. They will keep their masks on and continue breathing O2. Once they start to descend, we can now put that they have been there for 15 minutes. So 2 minutes plus 15 minutes equals 17 minutes. 15:09 plus 17 minutes equals 15:28. I'm sorry, 15:26. Math is fun. So now they are at 40 feet in the chamber. They are breathing O2. They have already completed 15 minutes on O2, which is a half period. They have another half period to go to make a total of 1, which means they need to breathe oxygen for another 15 minutes down here. So they breathe oxygen for another 15 minutes. 15:26 plus 15 minutes equals 15:41. So they are now descending at 15:41 from 40 feet in the chamber to surface. At this point, we are back to traveling at 30 feet per minute, which means we're going to take our feet of distance and multiply that by 2. That will give us 80 seconds, or 1 minute and 20 seconds. That's what goes in the chamber ascent time right here. This is the time it takes to ascend from your final stop in the chamber all the way to surface. So we're going to put 1 minute and 20 seconds. This will round up to 2 minutes down here. So it took us 2 minutes to reach surface from the chamber. 15:41 plus 2 minutes equals 15:43. Now, one quick note for the chamber periods. Let's say that we had gone to 31 minutes of bottom time instead of 30. That would put us at a 1:40:35 table, which does not have 1 period. It has 1.5 periods, which is 45 minutes of O2. If we did that, we would have to split up our time at the 40-foot stop, because remember, you can only breathe O2 continuously for 30 minutes before a mandatory 5-minute air break. So if we did have 1.5 periods, it would look like this. We had 2 minutes of dead time, 15 minutes on O2 at 50 feet, then we descended to 40 feet and breathed it for 15 minutes. We have now had a total of 30 minutes on oxygen. Because a 1:40:35 table requires 1.5 periods of oxygen, we still have 15 more minutes to go. But we've already been on for 30 minutes, so we need to add a 5-minute air break. After that, we breathe the additional 15 minutes, and then we can go back to bottom. So back to our real chart. We've now completed all of this information. Let's say once we get to reach surface and chamber, if we had no holds, we can now say that there were no holds on descent. Oh, also, side note, the travel shift vent time up here is only when you are decompressing in water on oxygen, which we will not be doing during Sur-D O2 dives. This is the time it takes to switch your air supply from air to oxygen, vent out all the air, and start breathing the oxygen. You have up to 3 minutes to do that. However, we will not be doing this for the Sur-D O2 dives. Anyway, so now it's time to calculate our total decompression time. That is going to be pretty much everything in this column added up. Remember, we will not be putting anything in these 3 boxes up here. So all of these added together, you could do these one by one, or the way I like to do it, it's a little faster. If you just take the difference in time between left bottom and reach surface chamber, that will give you your total decompression time. So the time from 15:04 to 15:43 is 39 minutes. I'm going to put 39 minutes here. We add our total decompression time to our total bottom time, and that will give us our total time of dive. 30 plus 39 equals 69 minutes. Nice. Alrighty, so we completed a 1:40:30 table. That means our repet group is November. We're going to put that down here. We did a Sur-D O2 decompression dive, which means we're going to go ahead and circle that. I don't have the circle tool on hand, so I'm just going to go ahead and highlight it. And then our bottom mix is what we were breathing in the water. That was going to be air. And with that, our chart is now complete.